Kill Bill Volume 1. So the IMDb plot here: after awakening from a 4-year coma, a former assassin wreaks vengeance on the team of assassins who betrayed her. And this is Quentin Tarantino film starring Uma Thurman, Lucy Liu, among others. And I put this movie on the list because it really speaks a lot to the social aspects of film for me. So I saw this movie on the opening night at midnight, actually, in London. So at the time I was studying abroad. And I had seen a couple movies. I've been there a couple months already. So I'd seen movies in London before in my time there, but basically just myself, I would go because none of the other housemates that I was living with that were part of the program I was in were big movie fans. So I would go out to the movies. But this one, I don't even know how I necessarily did it, but I convinced the entire house to be like, we got to go to a midnight show. This movie's going to be great. You know, these were not film fans. Some of them had heard of Quentin Tarantino, but it wasn't, you know, something that they were necessarily excited to do. It was like my kind of turn to do something social for the whole group. So about 15 or so of us. And yeah, we went to this big theater in Leicester Square in London, midnight show. And I mean, that movie is like such a crowd pleasing movie. A lot of just incredible scenes, especially the crazy 88 battle at the end where Uma Thurman's, you know, cutting limbs off of all these assassins, and everyone, mainly our group, honestly, were very loud, you know, clapping, cheering, gasping. And it was interesting. I was thinking like, well, maybe this is just like an American thing. In terms of being this loud at a movie, and hopefully the other people in the audience weren't kind of pissed that we were doing this, but it really just was important for me to really understand, like, yeah, this is like a social bonding experience you can have with your friends and enjoying and laughing and, you know, clapping at these incredibly over the top action scenes is this feeling that, yeah, you can get this at home. But it works a lot better in the big screen, especially then when there's people you don't even know that you can participate with this in. So this movie definitely was, this experience was something that's lasting on me for years now in terms of just an incredible theatrical experience. I mean, I also really love the movie. Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite directors. I think this is my favorite film of his, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I just absolutely love this movie. It's a mishmash of all the genres that I already kind of liked. Which is like, you know, Hong Kong action cinema, you know, sword and sandals, a little bit of the spaghetti Western thrown in, more so in Volume 2 than Volume 1. But, you know, Quentin Tarantino is all about mashing up genres. And this was like all my favorite genres mashed into one, and just incredible experience. But again, I think this just shows to me that sense of community that you can have and a shared experience to that level in a theater with, again, people you don't know, but then also your best friends. It was just a great memory that will always be a lasting impression for me in terms of the theater.
Yeah, I can't even imagine like watching this with a whole bunch of people in the theater where all this madness is happening, what that would do. Do you even walk out, you know, the theater without not imagining like blood sprays all over you? Probably
Oh,
not.
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, and two, like the ending was that twist ending of like when they reveal that Uma Thurman's daughter, who she was pregnant when she got attacked initially in the flashbacks by these people she's trying to get revenge on. She thought her daughter was dead and her daughter was like alive. And I remember like the whole audience like, oh my God, like this big collective gasp of like an amazing twist ending that everyone then is talking about, that you can hear talking about leaving the theater. So yeah, it's definitely was a lasting impression.
I can only imagine. So I had avoided this movie for a long, long time because I don't like any of the genres that you mentioned,
Yeah.
particularly. And I'd heard about all the bloodiness and such, and I was like, this is not my thing. And, you know, I don't know if I'm any director's head per se, because I
Hmm.
just not in my personality. I look at, I mean, sure, I'll, you know, jump up to go and watch something that's been done by somebody who I really appreciate, but I try and judge the movie on what it is, other than more so than who it's done by and who are the
Hmm.
people involved. Of course, that factors in, but I'm not just going to blindly, you know, follow people. There are some exceptions, but mostly I don't.
Uh-huh.
So with Tarantino, I mean, I obviously love many of his movies, but I don't know, there is something about him that also repels me, and I know I'm not the only one in that. As much as I admire him as a filmmaker, so for all those reasons, I sort of avoided this movie, and then I finally watched it very recently and was kind of blown away. Like this I should not like this movie. for what it has to offer. This is not my kind of movie at all.
Right.
The fact that I was totally pulled in. It's brilliantly done. The score is so amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's probably now which is funny, I'm coming back to this movie like now, in the year of 2021, 2022, but it's probably one of my favorite scores now because it's just so amazingly done. The pacing of the movie is so amazing because, on the surface of it, like this movie really doesn't have much to say. Like it's just a set piece directorial vision that's executed brilliantly. And you can just take it for that. But then, and that's how I took it when I was watching the movie. And that's a part of me also felt like what a vain exercise this is in somebody's own egotistical pursuits. But then as I stepped away from the movie stayed with me. And I think a lot of it has to do with Uma Thurman and the performances. And there's something sort of haunting about it. There's sort of other societal things about power of women and the fact that the movie doesn't judge its people and its characters one bit. It's also a movie about mastering the skills, like how you really see her learn how to use the sword and how all these amazing aspects of this assassin world, be it the weapons and such, how they are put together and created. There's like mastery and skill in all of that. So I don't know, I'm still processing it, but the point that I want to make was that it has a lot more to offer than just meets the eye. And I'm pleasantly surprised by it. But yeah, I can't even imagine what watching this movie on the big screen with a bunch of people would be like. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you did see it and were able to like pleasantly surprised in terms of your reaction that you actually enjoyed the film. It's always exciting when you kind of uncover something that for a while either you've been avoiding or I'm not going to like this, so I'm not going to watch it. And then when you do, you're like, oh, actually, that was kind of good. The part two, it's interesting because he moved a lot of the action is really in part one. It's a very different movie than part two, actually, which is lacking on a lot of the same action. So if you kind of go in expecting the same thing, it's not really that, which was interesting. Actually, funnily enough, the same group I saw part one with, who was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. We then got together as a reunion back in the States and saw part two together. I think it came out in April of the next following year. And it was fun to see everyone, but it also was, people were like, oh, that was not the same. And it's not as much of a crowd pleasing movie as the first one was. So it's just interesting that dynamic there. But yeah, it definitely, especially interesting too, because the movie is, again, much of his version of like these, Shaw Brothers films out of Hong Kong. But if you don't know those genres, you're not expecting that moment when an arm gets cut off and then the blood starts spraying everywhere. Like I remember that being like, especially my friends who like didn't really expect what was going to happen, just like freaking out and like laughing and being like, because it was a super surprise. Whereas I'm like, okay, I think I know like what he's trying to do here and where this could go. But yeah, definitely another moment in the theater that I feel just everyone just being like, oh my God, I didn't think it was going to go this way was really cool.
Yeah, I didn't know it would be that, it was going to be that heightened. But that again, like kudos to him, like this movie could be unwatchable actually for all its gore, but because it's so highly stylized and heightened, it almost becomes ridiculous and kind of comical, which is sort of the point. But there's such a great tone handling that's happening over there. Yeah, because on the face of it, like I said, this is not a movie for me. Right. So no, I'm very happy to have watched it, and also what a great example I think for you for a communal experience, because you watched it with the same people again. Part two. That's pretty amazing. That doesn't happen very often, especially in the times we live in. So
exactly.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.